Okay, I want to start today with a bit of a visualization exercise. I want you, yes, you, listening right now, to just close your eyes for a second.
Unless you're driving.
Yes, unless you're driving, in which case, please keep them open. But I want you to summon the image that pops into your head when I say the words Mexican food.
It's a loaded phrase, isn't it?
It is. And, if we're being totally honest, for a huge chunk of the world, that image is probably yellow.
Yellow cheese.
So much yellow cheese. It's a hard shell taco. It's a massive burrito wrapped in foil that weighs, I don't know, as much as a newborn baby.
Right.
It's a combo platter with a giant dollop of sour cream and maybe a plastic cup of margarita mix.
Right. It's the food of Friday nights, of hangovers, of quick gratification. We tend to categorize it as cheap eats or party food.
Yeah.
And look, while that stuff can be delicious in its own right, treating that as the definition of Mexican cuisine it's like looking at the ocean and only seeing the white caps on the waves.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
You are missing the entire massive breathing ecosystem that's living right underneath.
That is exactly why I'm so hyped for today's deep dive. We are taking that iceberg, which in this case is probably covered in a rich, dark mole sauce, and we are flipping it completely over.
We're going deep.
We are looking at the source material you brought in, which frankly reads less like a cookbook and more like a history of civilization.
That's the best way to frame it. The materials we're analyzing today, they argue that Mexican cuisine isn't just a collection of recipes. It is a civilizational history you can taste.
I love that phrase.
It argues that every single bite of a real tortilla, every spoonful of a complex salsa is a data point in a story about empire, about survival, agriculture, religion, and, the clash of entire worlds.
Civilizational history you can taste. It just elevates the stakes immediately, doesn't it?
It does.
And the mission for this deep dive is to treat the cuisine with that same academic but also cheeky reverence you might give to, say, French or Japanese cooking. The source material describes the vibe as an Addy-curated cultural mood board. So think academic, but warm. Educational, but with a lot of flavor.
Exactly. We need to dismantle the monolith. And to set the stage, I think we need a better analogy than just tacos. If you think about, say, Italian cuisine, what are the foundational pillars?
I'd say wheat soap pasta and bread and olive oil, maybe wine.
Right. Wheat and olive oil, that's the structural integrity of the diet. Now, if you look at East Asian cuisines, Japan, China, Korea, generally speaking, you're looking at rice and fermentation.
Soy sauce, fish sauce, miso, that kind of thing.
That's it. So what is the bedrock of Mexico? It's not beef, it's not cheese. It is built on two absolute non-negotiable pillars, maize and chile.
Corn and peppers.
But it's so much more than that. It's not just we eat corn. The philosophy is we are corn, and that's where we have to start.
Okay, so where are we going?
We're going to map this out. We'll start with the pre-Hispanic foundations, the stuff that existed before 1519. Then we'll look at what we're calling the collision, what happened when Spain showed up.
Okay.
After that, we're going to take a regional road trip, because I promise you, the North is nothing like the South. And finally, we'll get into the philosophy of flavor. Why is a molkashate better than a blender?
Oh, I cannot wait for the blender versus stone debate. But let's start at the very, very beginning. The roots. You said that corn isn't just an ingredient, it's cosmology. Let's unpack that.
This is one of the most profound things about Mesoamerican culture. And to understand the food, you really have to understand the Popol Vuh.
The Popol Vuh.
This is the sacred text of the Quiche Maya. It's their book of Genesis, essentially, their creation story.
Okay, so story time. How does the world begin according to the Popol Vuh?
Well, the gods are trying to create humanity. They want a creature that can worship them, speak to them, and keep the days. It's essentially a divine R&D project.
A beta test for humans.
Exactly. First, they try mud. They shape humans out of mud. But it's a total disaster.
Why? What happens?
The mud crumbles, it dissolves in the rain, and the mud people can't speak coherently. They have no structure, no permanence, so the gods get frustrated and destroy them.
Okay, so scratch the mud people. What's next?
Prototype number 2, wood. They carve humans out of wood, and these guys are sturdy. They can walk, they can talk, they can multiply. But they are empty inside. They have no souls, no hearts, no blood. They can't remember their creators. They just wander around aimlessly. So the gods send a flood and set the jaguars on them to wipe them out.
Wow. Brutal.
Very. But finally, after these failures, the gods find the perfect material. They take white corn and yellow corn. They grind it into a fine dough, what we call masa, and they mix it with their own divine blood.
Whoa.
And from this mixture of corn and god blood, they shaped the first true humans, the ones who can think and speak and pray.
That's incredible. So when an indigenous person in Mesoamerica eats a tortilla, they aren't just fueling up. It's not just carbs.
No, not at all. They are consuming the very substance of their own creation. In indigenous traditions, maize is the origin story. It connects you to the divine.
It's a sacrament.
It is. There's a saying, sin maíz no hay país. Without corn, there is no country. And they mean that literally. If you take away the corn, the people cease to exist, both physically and spiritually.
That is a heavy, beautiful concept, and it makes sense why they would treat the agriculture of it with such genius. The notes mention the three sisters. I remember this from school vaguely, but let's really get into the details. It's corn, beans, and squash. Right.
Correct. But I think we often learn this as, oh, they just planted them in the same garden. No, no, no. This was highly advanced agricultural engineering. It's what we would call permaculture or regenerative agriculture today. It's brilliant.
Okay, so how does the system actually work?
It's all about a symbiotic relationship. First, you plant the maize. Corn grows vertically, straight up. It creates a stalk. That is your infrastructure. Exactly. It's the trellis. Then, a little later, you plant the beans at the base of the corn. Beans are vining plants. They need support, so they wrap around the corn stalk to grow upward toward the sun.
So they're helping each other out.
But the beans pay rent for that support. Beans are legumes, and legumes have this incredible ability to take nitrogen from the air and fix it into the soil through their roots.
And corn is a hungry crop, right? It drains the soil of nutrients.
It's a nitrogen hog. It just sucks it out of the ground. So the beans are constantly replenishing the very nutrients that the corn is taking out. It's a closed-loop system.
Wow. And where does the squash fit into all this?
The squash is the final piece of the puzzle. You plant it last, in between the corn stalks. It grows low to the ground. It has these massive broad leaves that look like lily pads. It acts as a living mulch.
A living mulch, I like that.
It shades the soil, which prevents water evaporation, which is crucial in the hot Mexican sun. And it blocks out sunlight so weeds can't grow.
So no need for herbicides.
And plus, the squash leaves have these little prickly hairs on them that deter pests and small animals.
So it's a self-sustaining ecosystem. You don't need chemical fertilizer because you have beans. You don't need herbicides because you have squash. You don't need pesticides. It's all built in.
And here's the kicker. It's not just agricultural synergy. It's nutritional synergy.
What do you mean?
If you eat only corn, you're missing two essential amino acids, lysine and tryptophan. Your body needs them to build proteins. If you eat only beans, you're missing other essential amino acids. But if you eat corn and beans together,
they complete each other.
They form a complete protein. The amino acids in the corn complement the ones in the beans. You can physically survive and build muscle on a diet of just corn, beans, and squash.
That's incredible.
This triad allowed civilizations like the Maya and the Aztecs of Mexico to build massive empires with millions of citizens without having cattle, pigs, or sheep. They didn't need livestock for protein. Their crops were the protein.
That is incredible efficiency. But there is a catch with the corn, right? Even with the beans. The sources mention something that sounds like a scary chemistry term, nixtamalization.
This is it. This is the single most important technical achievement in Mexican culinary history. If there is one thing listeners need to take away from the science side of this, it's nixtamalization.
Okay, break it down for us. What is it, and why does it matter so much?
So imagine you are a hunter-gatherer thousands of years ago. You find this wild grass teosinte, which eventually gets domesticated into corn. You dry the kernels to save them for winter. If you just take those dried kernels, grind them up into a powder, and try to mix it with water.
What do you get?
You get wet sand. It's gritty. It doesn't stick together. You can't make a dough. You can't form a tortilla. And even worse, nutritionally, it's actually dangerous to live on.
How is it dangerous?
The niacin, that's vitamin B3 in corn, is chemically bound to other molecules. Your body can't unlock it. It passes right through you.
So if I just lived on raw cornmeal, I'd get sick.
You would develop a horrific disease called pellagra. It's characterized by what they call the 4 Ds: dermatitis, diarrhea, dementia, and eventually death. It's a nasty, nasty way to go.
So how did they solve this huge problem?
We don't know exactly how they discovered it, but the theory is that some woman, probably thousands of years ago, maybe dropped some corn into a fire pit with wood ash.
An accident.
A happy accident. Around 1500 BC, Mesoamerican people found that if you soak the dried corn in an alkaline solution water mixed with wood ash, or more commonly, calcium hydroxide, which is slaked lime or calm magic happens.
Chemistry, Evans.
Pure chemistry. The alkalinity creates a chemical reaction. First, it softens the hard outer hull of the corn, the pericarp, so it peels off easily. Second, and this is the miracle, it creates a chemical change in the proteins and starches of the corn itself. It allows the ground corn to bond with water and become plastic or pliable.
It turns the sand into clay.
That is the perfect analogy. It turns it into masa. And suddenly, you can shape it. You can flatten it into tortillas. You can roll it into tamales. You can form it into gorditas. The entire cuisine becomes possible.
And what about the nutrition? The pellagra problem.
That alkaline bath breaks the chemical bond on the niacin. It makes the vitamins bioavailable. It unlocks the nutrition inside the corn.
So by soaking it in lime water, they turned a nutritional deficit into a superfood.
Exactly. And when the Europeans arrived and took corn back to the old world, they took the seeds, but they didn't take the nixtamalization process.
Why not?
They thought the soaking step was just some primitive ritual, some superstition. We don't need your ash water. We just want the gold and the corn.
Classic colonial arrogance.
And the result was tragic. In Italy, where they made polenta, in Spain, later in the American South, where people lived on grits and cornbread, poor populations who relied on corn developed massive outbreaks of pellagra.
For centuries.
For centuries, people were dying of malnutrition with full bellies because they didn't know the chemistry of the nixtamal.
That really grounds the idea that this is a highly advanced cuisine. It's not just throwing things in a pot. It's science.
It's industrial chemistry performed in a clay pot every single day for over 3,000 years. And the smell, if you walk past a tortilleria today, that specific earthy, almost limestone smell, that is the smell of nixtamalization. It literally smells like survival.
Okay, let's step into the pantry before the Europeans arrived. We are in the year 1500. We are in Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, what is now modern-day Mexico City.
A city of canals, floating gardens called chinampas, and markets bigger and more organized than anything in Europe at the time.
You walk into a kitchen, what is not there? This is the part that always blows my mind.
It's a long list. No cows, so no beef, no milk, no butter, no cream, no cheese.
A Mexican meal without cheese or sour cream, that's hard to imagine.
None. Zero. No pigs, so no pork, no bacon, no chorizo, and most importantly, no lard.
Lard is huge. So many things are cooked in lard.
We'll get to lard, but yes, it's a game changer that's missing. No chickens, no wheat, so no flour tortillas, no bread, no pastries, no rice.
Okay.
No garlic, no onions.
Wait, no onions? I feel like every Mexican recipe I've ever seen starts with dice an onion.
They had a wild variety, a sort of green onion called zonacatl, but the big, bulbous white and yellow onions we use today, those are Eurasian. Garlic is Eurasian, cilantro, that's from the Mediterranean and Asia.
So what do they have? If you take away the pork, the cheese, and the onion, is it just bland corn mush?
Not even close. The biodiversity was staggering. They had chiles, dozens and dozens of varieties, fresh, dried, smoked, pickled, each with a completely different flavor profile.
More than just hot.
Way more. They had tomatoes and tomatillos, the red and the green. They had squash blossoms. They had huitlacoche, which is a corn fungus that grows on the cob and tastes like an earthy, funky truffle.
The Mexican truffle, I've heard it called.
Yes. They had amaranth, which was another staple grain. They had cactus nopales. They had avocados. They had vanilla. They had cacao chocolate, though it was mostly consumed as a bitter, spicy drink.
And for protein, if there are no cows or pigs?
Turkey was huge. The Muscovy duck. And a specific breed of small dog, the Xoloitzcuintli, was actually bred for food. But a huge reliance on aquatic life from the lakes and insects.
We have to talk about the insects.
It's the sustainable protein of the future, but it was the protein of the past. Chapulines, which are grasshoppers. Escamoles, which are ant larvae. Gusanos, the worms from the agave plant.
Ant larva, what does that taste like?
Eskimos are fascinating. They have this creamy, buttery, nutty texture. They really do call it Aztec caviar. It's a delicacy.
And the sauces were already there, right? The moles.
Yes. The concept of the mole absolutely existed. The word mully in the Nahuatl language just means sauce or mix. They were using stone mortars and pestles to grind pumpkin seeds, tomatoes, and various childs into thick, complex sauces to coat their turkey or fish.
So it wasn't a primitive diet just waiting to be saved by European ingredients.
No, it was a sophisticated, high-flavor, nutritionally complete cuisine. When Bernal Diaz del Castillo, who was one of Cortez's soldiers, saw the market at Tlatelolco, he was absolutely stunned.
What did he say?
He wrote pages and pages just listing the food. He saw mountains of produce, game, fish, honey, and prepared foods like tamales. He said it was more organized and more abundant than the markets in Rome or Constantinople.
But then, 1519 happens, Hernán Cortés arrives, and we get the collision.
The Columbian Exchange. It is the moment the world's biology and its menu change forever.
The source material really emphasizes that for Mexican food, this wasn't a replacement. It wasn't like the Spanish showed up, banned the corn, and forced everyone to eat ham sandwiches. It was a fusion.
That is the key distinction. In some colonized regions, the local food culture is wiped out or it's marginalized. In Mexico, the indigenous maize soul was so strong that it just swallowed up the new ingredients. It absorbed them. It Mexicanized them.
Let's talk about the new arrivals then. The Spanish bring the entire barnyard.
They do. Cattle, pigs, chickens, sheep, goats.
And the pig seems to be the MVP of this whole collision.
The pig changes everything. I mean, obviously the meat is great. It gives us carnitas, al pastor, chorizo. But the real game changer was the fat, lard, manteca.
Right. Why was lard so revolutionary?
Before the Spanish, indigenous cooking was mostly boiling, steaming like in tamales, or dry roasting on a flat griddle called a comal. There wasn't a lot of fat available for frying.
And lard gives you that.
Lard gives you frying. Suddenly you can fry things. You can fry beans and they become refried beans. You can fry a tortilla to make a tostada, a chimichanga, a hard taco, a flauta. You can whip lard into the tamale dough to make it fluffy and light instead of dense. The texture of the entire cuisine transforms. It becomes richer, crispier.
And they brought dairy.
Right. But look at how Mexico adapted dairy. They didn't just start copying French cheeses. They took the milk and they applied their own preferences. They created fresh, salty, crumbly cheeses like queso fresco or cotija, which is kind of like a Mexican Parmesan.
But they don't really do a cheese course, do they, like in Europe?
No. In traditional Mexican food, cheese is almost never the main event. It's an accent, it's a supporting actor, it's crumbled on top of beans for saltiness. It's a textural element inside a chili relleno. It's rarely a big slab of cheese on a plate.
And then we have the convent kitchens. This is one of my favorite parts of the whole history, the Sor Juana era.
The convents in the colonial era, in places like Puebla, Oaxaca, Mexico City, were the laboratories of this fusion. You have to understand the social dynamic here.
Right.
These convents were wealthy institutions. The nuns were often the daughters of the Spanish aristocracy. They had money, they had time, and they wanted to maintain a European lifestyle.
So they wanted their Spanish dishes, they missed the food from home.
Right. They wanted their sponge cakes and their almond sauces and their elaborate pastries. But who was doing the actual cooking in the kitchens?
Indigenous women.
Exactly. Indigenous women working as servants or kitchen aides. So you have this incredible collision happening in a hot, busy kitchen. On one table, you have all the Spanish ingredients, cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, almonds, sesame seeds, wheat bread, sugar.
And on the other table,
you have the indigenous staples, all the different dried Cheetos, chocolate, tomatoes, pumpkin seeds, corn tortillas.
and they just start mixing them together.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. They needed to make these elaborate, impressive meals for visiting bishops or viceroys. So they started blending. What if we take the ancient Aztec chili sauce, but we thicken it with toasted bread instead of just corn? What if we add the almonds and the sesame seeds to give it a nutty richness? What if we add the cinnamon and anise from Spain?
And that's the birth of mole poblano.
That's the leading theory, yes. Mole poblano is the ultimate mestizo dish. It is pre-Hispanic technique, the chili sauce, the stone grinding, reinforced with Spanish and even Moorish ingredients like spices and nuts. It is a dish that could not exist without both worlds.
It's history in a bowl. And we can't forget the flip side of this collision. It wasn't just Spain changing Mexico. Mexico absolutely changed the world.
This is reverse globalization. And it's a part of the story we often forget.
Give us the big examples.
Okay, imagine Italian food.
Pasta with marinara sauce.
Yeah.
Pizza, caprese and salad.
Right. Now take away the tomato.
A lot of white sauce and olive oil to completely different cuisine.
The tomato is Mesoamerican. It didn't exist in Italy until the Spanish brought it back from Mexico in the 16th century. For a long time, they thought it was poisonous. There is no pizza margarita without the Aztec tomato.
Wow. What about spicy food in Asia?
This is the big one. Imagine Indian curry, Thai green curry, Sichuan hot pot, Korean kimchi.
They are all defined by the chili pepper.
Chilies are from the Americas. Before the Columbian exchange, spicy food in India was made with black pepper piper, nigrum, or ginger. It was a totally different kind of heat. The Portuguese and Spanish sailors and traders brought the chili pepper to their colonies in Goa, in the Philippines, at Macau, and from there it spread like wildfire across all of Asia.
So the vindaloo in India is a direct descendant of the Mexican chili.
Yes. The entire spicy belt of the world, from Thailand to Sichuan to India to Hungary with its paprika, owes its characteristic heat to Mexico.
That is mind-blowing. So Mexico basically exported flavor to the rest of the planet. Favela, chocolate, tomatoes, chiles, corn, potatoes, beans.
It's a culinary debt the entire world owes to Mesoamerica. And we don't even think about it.
Okay, so we've established the roots and the collision. Now, I want to get in the car, because one of the biggest takeaways here is that Mexican food is not a monolith. You can't just say, I'm having Mexican.
You can't. That's like saying, I'm having European. Are you having Swedish meatballs or Greek moussaka?
Exactly.
Geography dictates the plate. Mexico is a massive country with tropical jungles, arid deserts, high-altitude mountains, and 2 massive coastlines. The food changes drastically depending on where you are standing.
Let's start at the top. Stop 1.
Yeah.
The north. We're in the desert. We're in the border states.
Yeah.
Sonora, Chihuahua, Nuevo Leon.
This is ranching country, cowboy country. The climate is arid, it's harsh. It looks a lot like West Texas or Arizona. Historically, corn didn't grow as well here as it did in the South. But you know what did grow well?
Wheat.
Wheat? The Spanish brought wheat, and the northern climate was perfect for it. So what is the staple bread here?
The flour tortilla.
Yes. And people often think flour tortillas are inauthentic or just a Tex-Mex thing. No, they are authentically northern Mexican. They are the bread of the norteño.
And the burrito? Is that from here too?
The burrito is northern Mexican. It was a practical food, a way to wrap up a meal of stewed meat and beans for a miner or a vaquero, a cowboy, so they could take it to work. It's basically a lunchbox you can eat.
And because it's ranching country, I'm guessing it's heavy on the beef.
It's incredibly beef-centric. This is the land of carne asada, fire-driven grilling. You take a good piece of skirt steak, you grill it over mesquite wood, you chop it up, you put it in that flour tortilla with some fresh salsa. It's minimalist. It's not about 30-ingredient sauces. It's about high-quality protein and fire.
Okay, so that's the cowboy food. Now let's head way south to Oaxaca.
We're going from the desert to the mountains. This is the culinary heart of Mexico. It's mountainous and incredibly isolated. The geography is so rugged that different valleys develop different languages and different cultures that didn't mix much for centuries.
And that isolation meant that the indigenous traditions survived very strongly here.
Exactly. This is the land of the 7 moles. The food here is deep, it's earthy, it's ceremonial. This is where you find the chapulines, the toasted grasshoppers, sold in big baskets in the market, seasoned with chili and lime.
So why grasshoppers?
Well, they're an abundant source of protein that eats the crops, so you basically eat the problem. And they're delicious. They're crunchy, acidic, salty. Honestly, they are great beer food.
And the cheese. Queso Oaxaca.
The famous string cheese that's rolled into a ball. It's basically the ancestor of mozzarella sticks, but way, way better. But the whole vibe in Oaxaca is slow food. A real mole takes days to make. It's not fast food, it's the opposite.
Okay, from the mountains, let's hop over to the Yucatan Peninsula. Cancun, Merida. This is the tropical zone.
A totally different world. The Yucatan is a flat limestone shelf covered in dense jungle, and historically it was so isolated from Mexico City that it was actually easier for people in the Yucatan to trade with Europe or Cuba than with the capital.
So the food developed in its own little bubble.
Yes. It's Mayan food, through and through.
Yeah.
The flavor profile isn't based on dried chiles like in the center of the country. It's distinct. The 2 main flavors are equiote and sour orange.
Acuity is that bright red paste, right?
Yes, it's made from the annatto seed. It gives everything this vibrant red-orange color and a really earthy, slightly peppery flavor. And the sour orange, the Seville orange, provides this specific floral acidity that you just can't get from regular limes.
And the signature technique here is the pib.
The pib is an underground pit oven. It's an ancient Mayan technique. You dig a hole, you line it with stones, you build a huge fire and let it burn down to coals. Then you put the food in, cover it with leaves, and bury it.
And the famous dish is cochinita pibil.
Which literally means buried little pig. You take a whole pig, marinate it in that equiote and sour orange paste, wrap it tightly in banana leaves, not corn husks because banana trees grow in the jungle, and you bury it for 12 hours.
What's it like when it comes out?
It comes out smoky, incredibly tender, citrusy. It just falls apart. It is honestly one of the greatest pork dishes on the entire planet.
I can practically smell it. Okay, moving to the coast. Let's go to Veracruz.
The Gulf Coast. This was the main port, the entry point for the Spanish. Cortez landed here, so the influence is what you could call Spanish maritime.
What does that taste like?
It tastes Mediterranean. You see ingredients here that you don't really see in the rest of Mexico. Olives, capers, olive oil, parsley.
Olives in Mexican food? That's surprising.
In Veracruz, yes. The signature dish is huachinango a la veracruzana red snapper, Veracruz style. It's a whole fish cooked in a tomato sauce with olives, capers, pickled jalapenos, and herbs. It tastes almost Italian or Spanish, but with that unmistakable Mexican chile kick.
And finally, the Central Highlands. Mexico City, Puebla, the belly of the beast.
The crossroads. This is where the Aztec Empire was, where the Spanish colonial government was. You get everything here. You get the high-end convent cuisine like chiles and nogada.
Oh, the dish that looks like the flag.
Exactly. Poblano chiles stuffed with meat and fruit, covered in a creamy walnut sauce and sprinkled with pomegranate seeds. Green, white, and red.
And the street food. We have to mention the taco al pastor, because that's another incredible fusion story.
It's a fascinating one. In the early 20th century, a wave of Lebanese immigrants moved to Puebla and Mexico City, and they brought their food culture with them, specifically the shawarma.
The vertical spit for roasting lamb.
Exactly. But in Mexico, lamb wasn't as popular, and pita bread wasn't really available. So they adapted. They swapped the lamb for pork. They marinated the pork in dried chiles and achiote Mexican flavors. And instead of pita, they served it on a small corn tortilla.
And the taco arbe, the Arab taco, became the taco al pastor.
The shepherd's taco.
Yeah.
And they added that slice of pineapple on top of the piña, which drips sweet acidic juice over the savory chili-marinated pork as it cooks. It's Lebanese technique, meaning Mexican ingredients, to create the undisputed king of street tacos.
It's amazing how food tells these stories of migration.
Every bite.
So we've seen the map. Now I want to talk about the architecture of flavor, because the notes have this fantastic phrase, complexity is not chaos.
This is crucial to understanding the mindset. Some cuisines, like maybe modern Californian cuisine, are all about minimalism. Let the ingredient speak for itself. Don't hide the perfect tomato.
Right. 3 ingredients on a plate.
Mexican cuisine, especially the mole tradition, is the opposite. It's about layering. A mole from Oaxaca might have 25, 30, even 35 ingredients. Chiles, nuts, seeds, spices, burnt tortillas, chocolate, plantains, raisins, garlic, onions, anise, coriander.
It sounds like it should just be a muddy mess, like when a kid mixes all the paints together and you just get brown.
But it's not. It's like a symphony. When you listen to a symphony, you don't hear 25 separate instruments playing at once. You hear the chord. You hear the harmony. The goal is to create a new, unified flavor. You toast the ingredients to different levels, you grind them, you simmer them for hours.
So it all comes together.
When you taste a good mole, you shouldn't taste chocolate or cinnamon or ancho chile. You should just taste mole. It becomes its own new entity.
And the flavor pillars are interesting too. It's not just about spicy.
Right. We need to completely divorce the idea of chiles from just pain. Chiles are fruits. They have incredibly complex flavor profiles, just like wine grapes.
Walk us through a few examples.
Okay, take an ancho chile. That's a dried poblano. Heat-wise, it's very mild. But the flavor, it tastes like raisins, tobacco, prunes, and a little bit of dark chocolate. It's a deep bass note.
Okay, I get that.
Now take a guajillo chile. It's bright red, it's tangy, it tastes almost like a cranberry or a sour cherry. It provides a bright mid-range note.
And a chipotle.
Smoke.
Yeah.
Pure smoke. It's just a jalapeno that has been smoked and dried. It brings that campfire quality to a dish. A master cook uses these chiles like a composer uses instruments. I need more bass here, so I'll add ancho. I need a high note here. Let's use guajillo. The heat is just the delivery system. The flavor is the entire point.
And then you have acid.
The structural necessity. It's not optional. Mexican food is often rich. You have pork fat, avocado, fried masa, cheese. If you eat that without acid, your palate gets coated in grease. You get palate fatigue after 2 bites.
And that's where the lime comes in.
The lime is not a garnish. It's an engineering component. When you squeeze that lime wedge on a carnitas taco, the acid cuts right through the fat and wakes up your tongue. It cleanses the palate. It balances the entire equation. That's why you always get a lime. It's the reset button for your mouth.
And a texture.
Oh, Mexican food loves contrast. Hot and cold,
Right.
crisp and soft, all in one bite. Think of a flauta or a tostada. You have the crunchy fried corn base, then the hot, soft shredded meat, then the cold, crisp lettuce, then the cold, creamy crema and salty cheese. It's a party in your mouth because of that textural interplay.
Let's talk about the tools, the tactile cooking. Why are we still using a molcajete, a heavy volcanic stone mortar and pestle, when we have high-speed blenders?
It's not just nostalgia, it's physics. When you put your salsa ingredients in a blender, the blades slice and shred them at high speed. It creates a smooth, emulsified, almost flumpy texture. It whips a lot of air into it.
But it's very uniform.
Exactly. When you use a molcajete, you are crushing the cells of the tomato and the chile and the garlic against the porous volcanic stone. You are grinding and tearing the cell walls, releasing the essential oils in a way a blade simply can't.
So it actually tastes different.
100%. It tastes deeper, wetter, more raw and vibrant. And the texture, that rustic, chunky texture, holds onto the tortilla better. It feels alive in your mouth in a way a blended salsa just doesn't.
And the hand. The notes say recipes are felt, not measured.
Yes, el sazón, the cook's personal touch. If you ask a traditional Mexican cook for a recipe, they might struggle to give you exact measurements. You ask, how much water do I add to the masa?
1 cup.
She'll say no. You add water until it feels like your earlobe. Or
Right.
you toast the chiles until they smell like they're about to burn, but don't let them burn. It's intuitive cooking. It requires you to be present with the food, to listen to it, to smell it, to touch it.
That brings us to the soul of the cuisine, the sauce. The notes make a pretty bold claim. In Mexican cuisine, the sauce is the dish.
It really is. In, say, French cooking or an American steakhouse, the protein is the star. The sauce is a condiment. It's an accessory.
Right, the béarnaise sauce is for the steak.
In Mexico, particularly with something like mole, the sauce is the protagonist. The chicken or the turkey that's in it, that's just a texture. It's just a spoon made of meat to get the sauce into your mouth.
The protein is the vehicle.
Exactly. The effort, the cost, the time, it's all in the sauce. A mole might take 3 days to make. You can boil the chicken in an hour. The value, the prestige, the history, it's all in the mole.
And there's a crucial distinction between salsa and mole.
A big one. Salsa is the daily pulse.
Yeah.
It's fresh, it's acidic, it's bright, it's a flavor dial. You, the diner, control it at the table. You decide if you want your taco mild or nuclear hot. It's democratic.
And mole.
Mole is the ritual. It's slow, it's cooked for you. You don't add mole at the table. The dish comes swimming in it. You don't mix with the chef's vision. It represents history and collective labor. It's for weddings, baptisms, holidays.
Speaking of collective labor, let's talk about food as ritual. Section 6. Food as ritual and society.
Food in Mexico is the absolute glue of society. You have the daily rhythm, which is beans, fresh tortillas, some salsa. It's simple, it's nourishing. But then you have the celebration food. And celebration food in Mexico is almost always high labor.
Like tamales.
Tamales are the perfect example. You cannot make 500 tamales by yourself. That's physically impossible. You need a team.
It's a tamalada, right? A tamale-making party.
Yes. And it forces community. You need grandmothers, aunts, cousins, neighbors. You all sit around a table for hours, spreading masa on corn husks, filling them, folding them, tying them. And what happens while you work?
You talk, you catch up.
You gossip, you tell stories, you transmit culture and family history. The food requires you to be together. The labor itself is the social bonding mechanism.
And then there is the ultimate ritual. Dia de Muertos, the Day of the Dead.
This is where food literally bridges the gap between the living and the dead. The ofrenda, or the altar, isn't just decoration. You place the favorite foods and drinks of the deceased there.
So if grandma loved mole negro and a specific brand of cigarette,
you put a plate of mole negro and a cigarette on the altar for her, or a bottle of tequila for your uncle, or a specific sweetbread called pan de muerto.
And the idea is that the dead actually consume it.
In a spiritual sense, yes. The belief is that on that one night, the veil between worlds is thin. The spirits of your loved ones return to visit their families. They can't eat the physical matter of the food, but they consume the essence, the aroma, the spirit of the food.
I eat the smell.
They eat the smell. And there is a common belief that if you eat the food from the altar the next day, it has no flavor. It's bland.
Because the ghosts took the flavor.
Because the ancestors took the flavor soul. It's such a beautiful concept. It's not morbid or scary. It's a way of saying, I still care for you. I will still feed you. You are still part of this family, even after you're gone.
That is beautiful. It also touches on the hospitality code you mentioned.
Absolutely. If you walk into a traditional Mexican home, you will be fed. It is not a question. Offering food is offering safety. It's saying, you are welcome here, you are safe here. Even at a street taco stand, you see this. You stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers, a businessman in a suit next to a mechanic, both eating the same tacos, both using the same communal salsa bowl. It's a deeply democratic dining experience.
Now, before we wrap up, we absolutely have to clear up some confusion. The misconception section. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Tex-Mex.
The yellow cheese controversy.
So is Tex-Mex fake Mexican food?
No. And we need to stop saying that. Tex-Mex is a legitimate, historical, regional American cuisine with its own history, but we have to define it correctly.
Okay.
It is a distinct branch that evolved in the borderlands, specifically in Texas, which, remember, used to be part of Mexico. It's a story of what happens when Mexican food traditions meet American ingredients and tastes.
So what defines it?
It's about the availability of ingredients in the U.S. versus Mexico. In the U.S., cheddar cheese, yellow cheese was cheap and widely available. In Mexico, it wasn't. In the U.S., cumin was heavily promoted by spice companies. In Mexico, it's used, but not as the dominant flavor like it is in Texas chili. In the U.S., wheat flour was everywhere.
So you get nachos, chili con carne, fajitas, the crispy taco shell.
Right. And those dishes are delicious. They have their own proud history, but they are distinct from the root of traditional Mexican cuisine. If you go to Oaxaca and ask for a chimichanga covered in yellow queso dip, they will genuinely not know what you're talking about. It's important to respect the difference.
And the other big one. Latin America is not a monolith.
This drives me crazy. When people lump everything south of the Rio Grande together as Hispanic food or Latin food.
Give us the cheat sheet. How is it all different?
Okay, Mexico is Mesoamerican. Its soul is built on maize and chili, remember that.
Got it. Maize and chili.
Now go south to Peru. Peru is Andean. It's built on potatoes, thousands of varieties of potatoes and quinoa. And because of huge waves of immigration, Peruvian food is heavily influenced by Japan and China.
So what does that taste like?
Ceviche in Peru is different. It uses lime and hot peppers, sure, but it's often served with corn and sweet potato. And one of their national dishes, lomo saltado, is a beef stir-fry made with soy sauce. It's totally unique.
And Brazil.
Brazil is Portuguese-speaking, first of all. Its food has massive West African influence because of the slave trade. So you have coconut milk, palm oil called dende, cassava root. It tastes tropical and African. It tastes nothing like Mexican food.
Okay, last one. Argentina.
Argentina is the Italy of South America. It's pasta, pizza, and beef. Lots and lots of beef, but very little spice. If you go to Buenos Aires expecting spicy salsa, you will be very disappointed. They eat chimichurri, which is delicious, but it's made of parsley, oregano, garlic, and oil. There's no chili heat.
So maize and chili. That's our North Star for Mexico. So we've covered the ancient roots, the collision with Spain, the incredible regional diversity, the philosophy of flavor, and the spiritual connection to food. This has been a serious journey.
It really has. A lot to cover.
To wrap this all up, what is the final takeaway? If the listener remembers just one thing from this deep dive.
I think it's the idea of adaptive resilience. Mexican cuisine is not a museum piece. It's not static. It didn't crumble when the Spanish arrived. It absorbed them.
It ate the conquerors?
In a way, yes. It took their pigs, their cheese, and their spices, and it made them Mexican. It didn't disappear with industrialization. It adapted. But through all those changes, wars, invasions, globalization, the maize soul has always remained. The tortilla is still the spoon, the plate, and the food.
And that leads to the final provocative thought that the source material leaves us with.
Right. Think about the nixtamal process we talked about at the very start. Soaking corn in limestone water. We live in a world of AI, space travel, GMOs, and ultra-processed fast food. And yet, the foundation of this entire massive culinary culture that feeds millions and millions of people every single day still relies on a chemical process discovered by Indigenous women thousands of years ago in a simple clay pot.
Why has that specifically survived when so much else has changed?
Because it works. It's perfect. And because some things, like the deep spiritual connection between a people and their corn, are stronger than technology, you can't really improve on perfection.
I love that. So next time you see a tortilla, don't just see a bread substitute. See a few thousand years of chemistry, survival, and history.
Taste with intention.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go find some good mole. We'll see you next time.